So apparently the average American over the course of their life will have worked 12 full-time jobs, which is great, except that for a lot of us, we hit that threshold by the time we were 30. I'm Devin Higgins. This is 4 Minutes of Truth. Thanks for joining me. It is a Monday. Hope you are safe and well wherever you are in the wide, wide world. And like I said, I was doing some research earlier this morning, and I found a 2015 statistic, which is the most recent I could find, by the way, from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. It's a federal department that stated over the course of the average American's lifetime, they will have worked 12 jobs. For men, it's a little bit more than that. For women, on average, it's a little bit less. It balances out to 12. And they also take into account the fact that since no two careers are exactly the same, some people will stay at one position for longer while other people tend to be more fluid. In my case, though, I started working when I was 15 years old, and by the time I hit 30, I had already hit that threshold of 12 jobs. And I had started out like most people. I started out working in retail. I started working out doing small-time clerical office work. I worked in warehouses. I took whatever jobs that were available to me. But in January 2019, I wrote an article that I posted on LinkedIn about how from 2014 to 2019, I had been trying to find work in my chosen field of journalism and media, as well as PR, communications, copywriting, all that stuff. And after about 600 different job applications around the country, I had been rejected 600 plus times. In the 2 years since I wrote that article, that number has ballooned now to over 750 jobs. Now, for point of order, it should be noted that most job hunters and gurus and self-proclaimed experts say that you should, in theory, be applying to jobs, 2 to 3 jobs every day, which over the course of a calendar year means you're applying to about 1,100 jobs a year. Now, I don't know about you, but trying to apply to that many jobs in 365 days, one, is not exactly easy, and two, it can be mentally and emotionally very, very taxing. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do it. What I'm saying is that for the people at the bottom who are trying to find their way up and get into positions that they would like to think will carry them long term, they're better paying positions, they're better opportunities, they allow for upward mobility or sideways mobility if you're in a field that you're not necessarily wanting to stay in. Being told that you're expected to turn around and then apply to almost 1,100 jobs a year with no guarantee that, one, you're going to get any sort of traction as far as interviews or recognition or any possibility of a hire, and then having to face the possibility that the end of that year you're in the exact same position that you were when you started, is far from great. And for people like me who hit that threshold of 12 full-time jobs by the time I was 30, since then I've tacked on a good 10 to 12 more. So breaking it all down, over the course of my lifetime, from the time I started becoming a working citizen in America, I have worked 30 to 40 part-time, full-time, or temp jobs across the board. And it's not just necessarily media-based. Like I said, I spent time working in law offices, I spent time working in warehouses, I spent time doing pretty much I worked in a spa for a summer because, one, it was the only job that anybody was willing to offer me, and two, it was close enough to my home that I could also, if need be, take on a secondary job to help pay the bills. For the average person to be thinking, okay, I'm going to work 12 jobs in the course of my lifetime, when you know full well that even by the time, if you go to college, if you don't go to college, you get out of high school, that you know you're going to have to be working your way up and grinding through at least 2, if not 3 times that many jobs just to be able to try and make ends meet, is something that I don't think the establishment, and I don't think understands the lengths that the average American is willing to go just to make sure that they can keep food on the table, clothes on their back, and a roof on their head. And that kind of ties into the whole notion that the entire practice of trying to find work in and of itself is slanted for the people who don't have to do that. That if you're able to get in and get a long-term position and build that equity and build that experience up, that you can slip seamlessly into the next big job and then be able to post all over social media and say, hey, look at me, isn't my life great? Don't you wish you were me? And shouldn't you be happy for me with what I'm doing? While the rest of us at the bottom are slogging along, just trying to be able to get by with whatever is thrown our way as we're applying for job after job after job after job and getting rejection letter after brutal, unhealthy, morally, emotionally, physically draining rejection letter just telling you thanks for trying, but you know what? You're not good enough, because the person who's got the easier road, who's got the privilege and the opportunity to take that job, yeah, we're going to give it to them instead. Leave me a comment. Let me know, what has your struggles been? What has your trajectory been from the time you started working to now? How many full-time jobs have you had? How many part-time jobs have you had? What has your experience been? In the meantime, I'm still open and looking for work, so if you want to check out my resume and my credentials, you can do so right here. And in the meantime, have a good rest of your week, and I'll talk to you again soon. Thanks.